Welcome back to the Long Lost Podcast. That's right, me and Naya are back. I am Nito Marquis. Naya, how are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing great. The snow killed us, but now it's gone. The cold is gone too. So, the topic of today is something that I really wanted to podcast with you about. And I know that the podcast up until now has been pretty much just Pokemon, Pokemon, Pokemon. But that's my channel is Pokemon, Pokemon, Pokemon. So, here we go. Tackling the topic I wanted to talk about for a while Pokemon Gen 8. Now, quick disclaimer before you click off, keep listening here. This is not about rumors and news. I'm not going to speculate on rumors and news. This is more so hopes, wants, what they've done in the past with Pokemon, directs, things like that. And most importantly, when are we going to get Gen 8? Naya, what are your thoughts first off? Let's start off on this. Gen 8, do you think they should follow in the footsteps of anything they've done with Let's Go or Sun and Moon?
I don't know. It depends on what you're asking me about specifically.
I'm more so thinking it's time for a change. I think it's time for a major change in that it should be groundbreaking. I know that they've said in the past, and by they, I mean, usually when I say they, I'm saying like Masuda and the production team have said stuff like, hey, don't get your hopes up too high. You guys are going to set the bar so high that we can't possibly get it. However, I'm thinking Gen 8 definitely needs to be on the Switch. Take it off of the 3DS. Nothing wrong with the 3DS. I don't say we should outdate it at this point. But it kind of is moving towards the point that we are going to outdate the 3DS. It's going to be the Switch is the portable and the console system. So, step one, Gen 8, Switch. What do you think?
Once they come out with a new system, everything else is outdated.
Yeah, and I like how they've done that. They've built the Switch to last. Unlike, for instance, and I love my PlayStation 4, but they're already talking about working on PlayStation 5. And so to me, I'm like, all right, Switch is gonna be around for a long time while everybody else is continuing to go 5, 6, Xbox 360, Xbox 980, Xbox 1000, 1K. Who cares? So I'm happy about that. But definitely, since we don't technically know if Pokemon's going to be on the Switch or not, that's step one. Number two, I definitely think with as few details as we've had for Pokemon Gen 8, anything is possible. And that is awesome, but we're also kind of in that dark zone right now because there's nothing being said. And we're in the void. Even the shareholders, the stockholders for Nintendo are not being informed of what the plans for Pokemon are. All right, so then I'd like to talk my hopes and wants here. Let's just kick it off because I've been excited to think of this. If I were in charge of Pokemon, let's just start there. If I were in charge of Pokemon, the first thing is I would definitely make 193 new Pokemon. To put that in perspective, the highest additions that we've had for Pokemon were in Gen 1 was 151, of course. And then we didn't get that many Pokemon until Gen 5 introduced like 158, I think. And so I actually proposed this poll on Twitter because I was really curious. What are the odds, or what do people think? Are we going to get 193, which would by far be the most Pokemon we've ever gotten in one generation? 193 Pokemon would make 1,000 Pokemon on the Pokedex. My results that I got, I had 93 votes. 62 you guys said no, 38 said yes. Naya, what do you think about that? You think they're going to go all out and add 193 Pokemon?
I don't know. It depends, I guess, on their mood, essentially, because God, who knows what they're thinking of at this time.
Well, that's why I'm speculating, is because it could be anything. If I were in charge of Pokemon, my vision would be, of course, it's always based on a region. There's been a lot of talk about Pokemon should go to Europe. That should be what it's based on, EU. We've had everything from Upper Peninsula, Lower Peninsula of Japan, and finally we had Hawaii. So we had the tropical paradise. I don't think anybody wants the like a giant snow point city. Nobody wants the frozen tundra. That's, Canada, Alaska, Greenland. I don't know if that's anytime soon. If it were me, I would want 193 new Pokemon to make it massive, and a region just as massive. I'm not suggesting open world necessarily. That would be very complicated. But I would base it on Egypt. And hear me out on this one. Egypt, as it sits right now, has modern civilization, but they also have a massive plethora of the old civilization that's still there, the pyramids and everything like that. So imagine that exact region in Pokemon where you have modern buildings, you have electricity, you have Poke Centers, all this advanced sci-fi almost stuff. And at the same time, like back in Hoenn region, you have ancient ruins of old civilization, things like that. However, to make that 193 Pokemon happen, you would have the modern civilization with all the modern Pokemon, let's say, or Pokemon that makes sense, just new stuff, traditional to what they've always done, like a Pidgey, Spearow type situation. But you also have a massive plethora of, let's say, like mythical Pokemon. And I'm not saying mythical like Mew, I'm saying like they're based on mythology. That's where I would get the 193 Pokemon from, is because I would build it to where you have the traditional set that 5 and 1 did, for instance, Gen 5, Gen 1. But then after that, you would also have the ancient civilization where the ruins are and where the plot would be based. You can have something about somebody trying to take over the world or teams. I know a lot of people want to bring 2 teams back, like 2 evil teams like Aqua and Magma instead of just Team Rocket, Team Plasma, all that, or Team Flare for that matter. But let me continue my vision here, is that we have the teams, the evil plot, and it's revolving around the ancient pyramids or whatever the ruins would be. And in the meantime, you almost have a separation, almost like 2 generations in one of additional Pokemon that are normal, that are with the original tide of how they add the Pokemon in. So again, based on things like Pidgey and Spearow, and okay, you have a couple plants like Oddish, but then you also have very unique Pokemon that they haven't done before. Pokemon that would make sense that they've been around and have not evolution like in Pokemon, but they've just been around like Relicanth. Relicanth has been around for longer than any of the other Pokemon, well, on average. Mew, same thing, he's mythical. Well, more Pokemon like Relicanth who aren't mythical, they aren't legendary, they're just normal, hanging around in the ruins. So you almost have like a feel of Pokemon that have evolved to their species modern, and then Pokemon that have remained unchanged for years. How's that for a Gen 8 vision?
I think Egypt would be a cool idea, but I mean, we already have some Egypt-esque Pokemon already.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. There's oh wow, I can't remember his name. The Sarcopha. You know what I'm talking about, the coffin, the sentient coffin ghost. And yeah, we have, obviously, Lucario's based on Anubis, but imagine almost like 80 Pokemon based on Anubis. And I don't mean that, I mean like Anubis and Ra. Just, how about this even? Think about what the legendary and the mythical Pokemon in a generation, or I should say an area, region like that would look like. That'd be awesome. Hey, maybe we might even get a new evolution. I mean, think about that, an ancient Egypt evolution. That'd be awesome. So, speculation out, all right? I mean, if you were going to make a new region, what do you want to see? We've seen France. We've seen Japan in upper, middle, and lower peninsulas. We've seen Hawaii. What would you like to see? I mean, we could have desert regions. I mean, that's kind of Egypt too, but there's other deserts out there. We could have more of a Russian feel of, like a frozen tundra. Iceland. We could have Spain, a Spain feel or an Italian feel. Imagine an Italian region. That's already been speculated on up and down, left and right, and people love that idea when that was being speculated for Gen 6, I think.
Here's the thing, though. They've already touched upon, like, every single possible environment. You had the grassy hills, flowery fields, icy caves, dark caves. I mean, they've already hit upon every possible thing that I could possibly think of.
Heck, even Giratina had his own mirror world. I forget what it was, distortion world. All right, so we've run up and down the speculation. Let's get back to some hints and nods. So let's discuss a little bit about right now. There's really nothing. They haven't given us anything for Gen 8 other than it's in the works. Now again, I don't want to talk about rumors of when it's going to happen, what's going to be there. I understand there's been a ton of rumors. There's been a ton of people that, even people with credibility, have said when the direct is going to be, things like that. We're not talking about that. It's going to be more speculation, but let's go back here. So first off, February 2016 is when they had a Pokemon Direct that revealed, first off, the virtual versions of Blue, Red, and Yellow were now downloadable, so you can actually re-download them and buy the game again fresh. Something else they added, of course, was Sun and Moon. So imagine this. It's February now as the time of this recording. Can you imagine now they have another Pokemon Direct? And there's, I'll skip ahead here. Of course, the Gen 8 reveal, which would be like the Sun and Moon reveal 2 years ago. Plus, since they revealed Red, Blue, Yellow 2 years ago as digital downloads, imagine they let a Gen 4 game out of the bag. Gen 4 remake. You think it's time for a Gen 4 remake?
I don't know. I feel like if they do the Gen 8, I feel like Gen 4 remake isn't going to be top priority because they're going to want to get more newer stuff out there instead of going back on the remakes to sell more video games. Because I feel like the people that are following the remake crowd, so to speak. I don't think that. I think that pales in comparison to the people that are really excited for this new generation.
So to put it in perspective, Gen 3, Sapphire and Ruby, had Gen 1 remakes, Fire Red, Leaf Green, and of course they did phenomenal. They did very well. Gen 1 at that time was, I think, 8 years old, so it took them 8 years. They made a remake. And then we had Gen 5 along with Soul Silver and Heart Gold, I believe. That was a 5 game. And then Gen 6 came along. We had Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire as remakes while X and Y were launched. You could argue that things started getting a little weird there because Black and White came out, and then they came out with Black and White 2. That's something they had never done before, amidst making a remake of Gen 2. And then on top of that, when they furthered it with X and Y, seemed to almost end out of abruption. Like, hey, where's Pokemon Z? It never happened. And then they even furthered it by doing Ultra Moon and Ultra Sun, which weren't even sequels. It was a retelling with additional details and altered plot, almost like a different story altogether, parallel to Sun and Moon. So do you think they should kind of... I think they should. I think they should get back to wherever it would be with one game that, there's a blue and a red, there's a 1 and a 2, and then add the third one back in. That's my hopes for Gen 8. How about yourself?
I feel like the kids and people that are going to be buying Pokemon right now are, well, that's just it, kids. Because, nostalgia and the people that are kind of age that play Pokemon, they're gonna buy the remakes and the new generation and basically anything that comes out because of nostalgia. But then you've got kids that see the new Pokemon and they're just gonna play it to play it. I mean, that's not... And yeah, I'm sure that I'm not covering everything here, but I feel like the kids are gonna be attracted to the new Pokemon. They're not gonna really care about the remakes, or if there's... I really doubt that a parent's gonna buy 3 different versions of a game. Like, they'd probably just buy the one, because that's a lot of money. Each game is like $60.
So I could definitely agree with you there. And the reason I agree with you is mainly because right now the future is uncertain with Let's Go going along with it. So now we have almost 3 main series. Or not 3 main series, but 2 main series, one of which is sub-split. Mainly Pokemon Gen 8, and then Pokemon remakes, say Gen 4, and then Let's Go, which is in itself a form of a remake. It's just it's an additional remake in a different style. So then I guess the question is, and I proposed this I think last time too on our podcast, Let's Go. And let's talk about Let's Go for a little bit here. We can talk about this. If Let's Go, it's done phenomenal. It's done absolutely phenomenal. I don't have the numbers for you, sorry, but I know that they sold enough copies that it's definitely set some records. And Switch is absolutely an all-time record right now for selling console units. It's safe to say that they've already said on social media the answer to Let's Go Johto, if it's gonna be Let's Go Togepi, Let's Go Quagsire, I would pre-order it if it's a Let's Go Shuckle. Right now, I pre-order it, but it's kind of it's implied at this point. They said if it does well enough, we'll keep going. I'm pretty sure we got a Gen 2 Let's Go coming someday. Now the question becomes: do you stop remaking games because you'll remake them when you make Let's Go anyways? Are we just going to focus on Gen 8 alone? And I'll get back to Gen 8 in a sec here. Let's talk about Let's Go. We completed our Nuzlocke, of course. It was fun. Thoughts on the future of Let's Go versus maybe not remaking games anymore, just making Let's Go?
I feel like they're going to just continue with Let's Go because I feel as though with the first one, they wanted to capture the cuteness, so they used Eevee and Pikachu. I don't know what they could possibly use or which generation they're going to... or region they're gonna use for the next Let's Go.
Let's go, Tyranitar! Destroy everything in your path, no mercy. All right, yeah, I'm with you on that one. Let's Go. People could get bored of it very fast. I do see that. It could be a gimmicky thing, like, all right, I enjoyed seeing Silver, but let's be honest, they're gonna do something that they've never done. Well, okay, I shouldn't say that. Gen 1's been remade twice now. It's Fire Red, Leaf Green, and Let's Go. So, but it's been 13 years I think since Fire Red, Leaf Green. It's only been a few years, maybe 5 years since Soul Silver and Heart Gold. So to have another version of this same story, the Johto story, it'd be a marketing risk in my opinion.
I interested to see that if they do go with another Let's Go, what kind of mascot, so to speak, they'll use. Because everybody knows Eevee and everybody knows Pikachu.
Shuckle! Yes, Let's Go Shuckle would be my favorite game ever. Maybe Let's Go Whooper. Whooper's cute, right? People like Whooper. Alright, so then we've got the Let's Go recap down. So to kind of bring it around full circle here, the question becomes, what's the future for Gen 8? And we know it's completely uncertain for Gen 4. Let's go. All of that aside, I really hope that whatever they do with Gen 8, it's new. And I'm not saying that I don't like Kanto, I don't like any of that, but even Sun and Moon kept referencing Kanto and Cantonian Pokemon versus Alolan Pokemon, Alolan forms versus regular forms. We've got dead ideas on the table, like, first off, are there going to be more Z moves? Are there going to be more Mega Evolutions? Are there going to be more Evolutions? You make more Evolutions, you're basically adding to a Gen 1 Pokemon, Eevee. That's not a problem. Look how many copies of Let's Go Eevee they sold. I think they absolutely should have a new evolution. I think they should absolutely have new Pokemon and stop with the Cantonian regional variant thing. Just go, if you're going to do regional variants ever again, you got to go away from Gen 1. We've had Gen 1 over and over and over, and it sells every single time. So you know what works. We're ready for something new, I think.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to see what Gen 8 holds, as in new Pokemon and where we're going to be in game. But on top of that, I'm really curious to know how many generations there are going to be. They come out with Sun and Moon, and I really like Sun and Moon. I'm also curious, I'd be really interested to know what the final Pokemon is going to be for the two different versions. If they even come out with two different versions, maybe it's just going to be one game. I don't know.
Well, with Ultra Moon, they definitely showed that they're not opposed to having a final boss, that big fight. But I will say this. If they are going to go with this, don't flood it with legendaries. Gen 4 had too many cooks in the kitchen. You had first off, mythical and legendary are so separate at this point, I can't even follow which is which half the time. Mythical to me is it cannot be obtained in the actual game. You have to go somewhere else to get it. Either go to GameStop and download it, or get an event code, or complete a special event somewhere in the world. It's mythical means you can't just get the Pokemon by doing something in game. It's got to be out of game. I would imagine if you're going to do 193 Pokemon, if that is if my hope becomes a reality, then they would definitely consider a lot of mythicals. And especially if anything like I'm talking about happens, you have to have a ton of mythical. But even if they do a European region, even if they do a northern style region like Canada, you're going to have a number of mythical Pokemon they're going to introduce. No, don't overdo it. That's my hopes, is that they don't overdo it, even though everything is fresh and new. I think Gen 8 has the potential to be on Switch with amazing graphics. Don't kill it. Make sure everything's perfect, And I'm not saying set the bar high, but come on, you're Nintendo, set the bar high. I think that's my final hope for Gen 8. All right, so any last hopes? Because I got one more fun segment we can go into.
No, I pretty much touched base with everything that I was thinking about, like the last Pokemon that you're gonna meet or catch, essentially. But yeah, I basically said everything that I had to say.
I think I've covered everything. Starters need to be unique. Everything needs to be unique. So let's go into a fun segment. A little game. So if you could name them, what would you name the new Pokemon games? If it were me, I'll start off. If it were an Egyptian region, and it's funny because I was in a stream when I thought about this, I would name it, hey, it's Egypt. You're talking modern versus old, and you've got all these things going on with mythical and legendary. I would say Astral and Earth. I'd name it Pokemon Astral and Pokemon Earth.
I'm curious. I wonder if the reason why they haven't announced or let any little nugget slip is to see how creative we can be. Like their fan base can be on creating and coming up with ideas.
Steal our ideas.
Well, I wouldn't say steal our ideas, but I think that they kind of enjoy. Possibly. I mean, I would enjoy watching the fan base come up with like ideas and possibilities, and then get a kick out of when we release it and watch everybody freak out.
I would love if they would have like contests or something to pick people. Basically, I'll make all the trainers in the game named after somebody in real life, to where you're like, oh, a youngster Joey or youngster whoever, and it's actually some kid that won a contest.
Well, wait a minute. So there's an artist that I know you're going to know who I'm talking about when I say this, if you're still listening. When I was looking on DeviantArt and everything, I found this really cool person that creates realistic drawings of Pokemon. And Pokemon actually reached out to him, and he helped contribute art for Detective Pikachu movie.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think they should do that with a ton of people, try and get a lot of trainers in the game. That would be awesome. I mean, imagine that. You're like, hey, I know this person. Hey, I remember this person. I think that would be awesome if they contributed a lot of in-game characters to real Pokemon trainers, especially us that have been playing for 20 years. That'd be awesome to finally get into a Pokemon game. Maybe we'll petition them that.
I would say the guy's username, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. But I'm sure if you've been on the internet for any long period of time, you'll know what I'm talking about.
You know memes, you know me. No, I'm just...
No, it's not a meme, but I know that there were several articles coming out about it, and the guy even, I don't remember, I think he commented or something, because I found a Discord channel that the guy runs. So he's posted models of the Pokemon for the Detective Pikachu movie. It's really cool. If I figure out the information and stuff, I'll post it as a comment.
Final segment. If you could make a Pokemon in Gen 8, what would you make? And I'll start it off again because I've thought about this too long, and somebody actually helped me on a tweet come up with this idea. So at first I had tweeted out, you know what? And this is directed at you too, Naya. I know you don't like Trubbish, but there's a whole bunch of I would say the majority of people don't like sentient object Pokemon. And what I mean is Voltorb and Electrode, Trubbish and Garbodor. Klefki is not really sentient. Actually, that's not really a sentient Pokemon, but you think of sentient object-based Pokemon, and people think of, like Vanillish, and they don't like them. I like them. I think it adds a lot to every generation to bring back a new sentient object. I think my favorite by far is Delmise. The problem is technically Delmise he's not an anchor. It's the seaweed. The seaweed that's around the anchor is actually the Pokemon Delmise. Regardless, Delmise is a sentient boat anchor with an old ship steering wheel. So if it were me, I would make a sentient tire. Since we've had trash and sludge all the time, get this, I know you're shaking your head. First off, it'd be a sentient tire. Now, think of this. A tire does, on cars, they do burnouts, all right? And that's actually what leads to tires going into the trash. So imagine this, all right? What happens when you burn out too hard? You get smoke, you get flames. And where do you do a burnout? On the ground. So you have a fire and ground type tire, and we'll call him Smoldire. Get it? Smolder and tire, Smoldire? Huh?
I don't even know how to comment on that.
I'm a creative Pokemon. Hire me right now. So if you could have a Pokemon, what would it be?
First of all, you just said you're a creative Pokemon, so that's something there.
You know what? There's so many possibilities for a tire. He could evolve. You know how they put chains on their tires in Alaska? All right, so you can have a steel type and a ground type tire. You can have snow tires. All right, you get my point. I'm taking it too far, but still, I think it's a wonderful idea. Naya, your turn.
I'm sorry to snicker, but I really hope that they don't come out with a tire.
All right, well, I think that's the end of that. This is a good way to get back into the podcast. However, as the podcast continues to evolve, as we continue to get art done, actually, Naya's the one doing the art, and as we continue to get the format right and get comfortable with talking, this podcast is probably going to jump to your channel.
Yeah, I just haven't figured out what kind of podcast that I want. So if you don't see podcasts on here, or you're curious if we're still doing them, some might be on my channel instead of this one.
Most of mine are going to be definitely Pokemon. Pokemon podcasts end up on my channel. And who knows, maybe some more Nintendo stuff. Hey, I got Smash, and thanks to you, I got Splatoon 2. I haven't even posted that on Twitter yet. Usually I go like that. But thank you for the Splatoon 2. I appreciate that. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was kind of a late Christmas gift.
In the meantime, I think that'll wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed. If you do, absolutely come back for more podcasts and contribute ideas. But please, comment. That's my favorite part of this is the comments. Either way, it's been fun, Naya. It's always fun, always a pleasure. I am humble, I am proud, I am your marquee. Farewell.